Today, we're going to get into a topic that so many people deal with but is often misunderstood or just not talked about enough. We're talking about female sexual pain and low desire. We're going to break down why these things happen, how they're diagnosed, and most importantly, how they can be successfully treated.
So let's start with a big question, right? Why do pain and low desire seem to show up together so often? I mean, is that just a coincidence? Well, it turns out it's absolutely not. There's a really powerful connection between them, and understanding that link is the very first step to breaking the cycle.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to explore what we mean by the cycle of pain. Then we'll get into the detective work of how doctors pinpoint the real cause. After that, we'll look at what a holistic, whole-body healing plan actually involves. And finally, we'll talk about how your lifestyle can be one of the most powerful medicines you have.
All right, let's jump right into part one. The most important thing to get your head around is that pain and low desire aren't two separate issues. They're actually tangled up in this negative feedback loop where one problem just keeps feeding the other.
This right here, this is the chain reaction. It can all start with something you might not even connect to sexual health, like chronic inflammation from your diet or gut problems. That inflammation makes you feel exhausted, right? Just low on energy. And when you feel that way, it's pretty natural for your sex drive to take a hit. So when desire is low, your body doesn't get physically aroused as easily. Think lubrication. This can make intimacy painful. And that pain sends a loud and clear message to your brain, hey, this hurts, let's avoid this. And that fear, that avoidance, well, it just reinforces the whole cycle, making it even tougher to escape.
And, major life stages can really throw fuel on this fire. For instance, after menopause, hormonal shifts can do two things. They can cause the pelvic floor muscles to become tighter, and they can reduce natural lubrication. Both of those things can make pain a lot worse, which just intensifies that whole negative loop we just talked about. So if you feel like you're stuck in this cycle, how on earth do you get out? Well, the first step is to figure out why it started in the first place. And that means we need to talk about the detective work that goes into getting a real, accurate diagnosis.
I think this quote is just perfect because it really gets at one of the biggest challenges here. If a doctor isn't specifically trained to look for the subtle signs of pelvic pain, they might just completely miss the root cause. It really drives home how vital it is to find someone who's actually prepared to see and understand what's truly going on.
So what does this detective work actually look like? Well, a really thorough exam usually has 4 key parts. It starts with just a visual check, looking for physical signs of a tight pelvic floor. Next is a gentle swab test, which helps map out exactly which spots are painful right at the entrance. Then the exam moves a bit deeper to feel for muscle tightness further inside. And finally, a deep exam checks for internal issues that could be causing pain, something like endometriosis. You see how each step builds on the last to create a really clear picture?
Now, this is a super important distinction that a good practitioner needs to make. Are they dealing with a tender point or a trigger point? A tender point is pretty simple. It hurts right where they touch it. But a trigger point, that's more complex. With a trigger point, they might press on a tight muscle in one spot, but you feel the pain somewhere else entirely. And identifying that is absolutely crucial because it tells a physical therapist exactly which muscles and nerve pathways they need to work on to give you relief.
And hey, never forget that you are the #1 detective on your own case. Just keeping a simple diary, tracking your symptoms, your pain levels, when things flare up, it can give your doctor the most valuable clues. It turns your day-to-day experience into clear data that can honestly guide the whole process.
Okay, so once there's a clear diagnosis, it's time to build a plan of attack. And the best approach isn't just one magic pill. It's about assembling what the source material brilliantly calls an all-eyed army of treatments that all work together.
And this is where all that detailed diagnostic work really pays off. The treatment plan is totally tailored to what they found. For example, if the big issue is a tight pelvic floor, then specialized physiotherapy is the answer. If the pain is mostly at the entrance, certain topical hormones can be a total game changer. If there are related things going on, like bladder issues, sometimes simple supplements can help. The point is, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. It's all about matching the right tool to the right problem. But this allied army isn't just about what happens in a doctor's office or at physical therapy. The real foundation for all of this healing, it's built on your lifestyle, on the simple, powerful habits that you are in control of every single day.
So let's talk about this number for a second. 30%. What's that?
Well, that is the potential reduction in your body's overall inflammation just from about 45 minutes of brisk walking every day. That's a massive impact, and it's done without a single prescription. It just goes to show you how powerful simple movement can be.
And taking that walk outdoors adds even more layers of healing power. Getting that natural light helps reset your body's internal clock, your circadian rhythms, and that improves both your sleep and your gut health, two massive players in managing inflammation. Plus, it naturally lifts your mood and boosts your metabolism. You see, you're not just getting exercise, you're actually using nature as a therapy to support your entire system.
Which brings us right back to the importance of finding the right expert. Now, a gynecologist is often the best person for the job, but this quote highlights the single most important thing. Those early symptoms have to be taken seriously. And that's a responsibility that's shared by the patient who has the courage to speak up and by the doctor who truly listens. So, let's wrap this up with the big takeaways. First, getting an early and accurate diagnosis is everything. It's the foundation. Second, treatment is a partnership. It's a team effort with your doctor. And third, the best plans are holistic. They combine medical care, physical therapy, and lifestyle changes. But if you remember just one single thing from all of this, please let it be this last point. You do not have to live with this. There really is a path forward.
And we'll leave you with this question. If anything we talked about today hit home for you, maybe it's time to start a new conversation about your health. Taking that first step, that can be the beginning of breaking the cycle for good.